dünyada insansız hava araçları denilince akla ilk Türk SİHA'ları geliyor. Muharebe meydanlarında kendilerini ispatlayan SİHA'larımızın savaş doktrinlerini yeniden yazan kabiliyetini artık tüm dünya kabul ediyor.
Since the early 2010s, one country has quietly transformed the battlefield from the skies with its drones. Turkey. Once dismissed as limited regional tools, these drones are now reshaping how wars are fought across continents. So, how did Turkish drones rise to global prominence, and where have they made the biggest impact? Turkey's drone program was born out of necessity. It was driven by imposed restrictions on foreign arms imports and the need for independent military capabilities to deter terror groups like PKK and Daesh. Furthermore, surrounded by increasingly unstable neighbors along its southern and eastern borders, the NATO member began investing heavily in domestic defense production since the early 2000s.
Hep arazideydik. Sırt sırta vererek Türk Silahlı Kuvvetlerimizle, güvenlik güçlerimizle en ufağından başlayarak 20 senede bu platformlar gelişti, dünyaya damgasını vurdu. Terörle mücadelede ülkemizin başına büyük bela olan bir probleme, bir anlamda o problemin belini kırdı.
Turkish drones first proved their effectiveness in Syria when Ankara achieved early success in its counterterrorism operations, especially in northern Syria against PKK's auxiliary groups and Daesh. During that time, drones were used for intelligence, surveillance, and precision strikes against terror groups. These operations demonstrated a key advantage of Turkish drones. They could stay airborne for hours, identify targets in real time, and strike with minimal collateral damage. In Syria, Ankara's drones played a central role in degrading terror networks and disrupting cross-border threats. But it was in Libya that the international military community truly took notice of Turkish drone prowess. Supporting forces aligned with the UN-recognized Government of National Accord, Turkish drones were used against the opposing forces in the eastern part of Libya. The aim was to return stability to the country. By mid-2020, drone strikes had helped halt eastern advance on Tripoli, destroying air defense systems and supply lines, reversing the momentum of the war. Another watershed moment came in 2020 during the 6-week conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia over the Karabakh region, which the latter had occupied for years. Azerbaijani forces used Bayraktar TB2 drones to target Armenian armored vehicles, artillery, and command positions, ultimately leading to a victory and the liberation of Karabakh after almost 3 decades. Combat footage released during the war spread globally, offering unprecedented insight into how drones could dismantle conventional ground forces. It was during the Russian-Ukraine war in 2022, however, that Turkish drones entered the global spotlight. In the early months of the war, Ukrainian forces used them to strike Russian convoys, air defense systems, and command posts. The success of these drones was now receiving international coverage and thus growing global awareness.
Turkish drone manufacturer Baykar that supplies Ukraine.
TB2 has proven itself to be an effective combat drone.
So effective that Ukrainian forces are singing its praises, literally.
Bayraktar. Bayraktar.
This was the moment Turkish drones became known far beyond military circles. The use of Turkish drones has not been limited to warfare. In May 2024, the Turkish Akinci drone was deployed to assist in locating the crash site of now-deceased Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi in mountainous terrain. Equipped with night vision and advanced sensors, it helped identify wreckage in difficult weather conditions, highlighting the role of Turkish drones in search and rescue operations. Across Africa, Turkish drones have increasingly been used since the early 2020s. In Ethiopia, they were deployed during the civil conflict beginning in 2021 as the government sought to counter armed separatist groups like the Tigray People's Liberation Front and the Oromo Liberation Army threatening state control. In Sudan, amid the war that erupted in 2023, they have been used against the Rapid Support Forces as fighting spread across the country. In Somalia, Turkish-made Akinci drones have been used against the Al-Shabaab terrorist group, with large-scale operations carried out in recent months. Across the Sahel, countries such as Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso, which have moved to expel former colonial power France, have turned to Turkish defense products, especially drones, in their fight against separatist and terrorist groups. Nigeria has likewise opted for Turkish UAVs in its security operations. The success of Turkish drones has largely helped Ankara become the fourth largest arms exporter on the continent.
Nous sommes ici en Turquie parce que c'est la Turquie qui nous intéresse.
La France, ça vous intéresse plus?
Oh, là, pas du tout.
As of the mid-2020s, Turkish drones have become widely sought after, including by fellow NATO members, with Albania, Croatia, Poland and Romania all purchasing Bayraktar drones. They are a critical part of Turkey's defense and aerospace exports, which soared to over $10 billion in 2025. Analysts say there are three main reasons why Turkish drones prevail: cost effectiveness, operational simplicity, extensive battlefield experience since 2016. These drones are no longer just weapons, but also symbols of how technology, strategy and geopolitics now intersect on the battlefield, and the result of over 2 decades of hard work as part of Turkey's vision. Their influence still unfolding.
Летіли байрактари, наче ті соколи, зупинили чорну хмару.